Welcome to my channel, Veterans Legacy. Today's story will take you to the roaring decks of the U.S. Navy's most powerful aircraft carrier, where courage, memory, and sacrifice collided under the blazing sun and the pounding rhythm of jet engines. It's a story about pride, failure, and redemption, a story that reminds us why we never forget those who once served. The USS Independence cut through the Pacific waters like a floating fortress. Its deck roared with the echo of power, jet turbines, clanging chains, and sailors shouting orders over the wind. It was launch day, an intense flight operation where timing meant everything and one malfunction could mean disaster. But that morning, something went terribly wrong. The main catapult, the massive mechanism that hurled aircraft off the deck, jammed. One moment, it had been launching F/A-18 Hornets like arrows into the sky. The next, a violent screech ripped through the deck, followed by silence and a puff of smoke. The entire operation froze. The launch crew ran to the edge, yelling into radios, trying to diagnose the issue. The ship's captain was called from the bridge. Pilots waited in their cockpits, helmets glinting under the sun, wondering what had gone wrong. "Get engineering on it," barked the air boss through the comms. "We've got a jam in Cat 1. Sailors scrambled, but no one could figure it out. The catapult's hydraulic pressure had dropped unexpectedly, and the control systems refused to reset. They called in the senior technicians, young men and women trained on the newest systems, but even they looked lost. Minutes turned into an hour. Then two. The launch schedule fell behind. Tension grew thick. The admiral overseeing operations demanded answers. "How long until we're back online?" he asked sharply over the radio. The response came hesitant. "We're still diagnosing, sir." The admiral slammed his headset down. Unacceptable. Somewhere deep in the ship, an old chief petty officer overheard the commotion. His name was Sam Riggs, though most just called him Chief. He was long retired, visiting the carrier for a special Veterans Day event. He'd served 30 years in the Navy, back when steam catapults ruled the decks. His hands were calloused, his eyes weathered, and his hearing wasn't what it used to be, but he had spent half his life listening to the rhythm of that deck, the hiss of steam, the hum of hydraulics. Now, he stood in a crowd of younger sailors watching chaos unfold. "What's going on?" he asked a passing deckhand. "Catapult's dead, Chief," the young man said. "Control systems not responding. They're saying it could be down for the whole operation." Riggs squinted at the horizon, then back at the frantic movements on deck. He'd seen this before. Decades ago, back in '87, when a cat jam nearly cost his crew their lives. Without asking for permission, he started walking toward the launch deck. "Sir, you can't be here," a petty officer shouted as Riggs stepped onto the restricted zone. "I'm not here to watch," Riggs replied calmly. "I'm here to help." The officer hesitated. The old man's uniform was faded, his medals dulled, but there was something about the way he moved, confident, steady, like someone who belonged. Word traveled fast. Within minutes, the admiral himself arrived on deck, frustration written all over his face. "Who the hell let a visitor onto my flight deck?" he snapped. Riggs turned and saluted. "With respect, Admiral, I'm not just a visitor. I used to run catapult maintenance on this ship's older sister, the Constellation. And I think I know what's wrong." The admiral frowned. "That was 40 years ago, Chief." "Yes, sir," Riggs said. "And that catapult design hasn't changed as much as you think." The air boss looked skeptical. "We've had 3 tech teams on this thing for hours, old man. What do you think you're gonna do that they haven't?" Riggs didn't argue. He just walked to the control console, running his fingers over the switches, his lips moving slightly as he read the labels. He crouched down, removed a small panel, and peered inside. "Son," he said to the nearest operator, "you mind checking your hydraulic bypass line? The pressure regulator might be jammed." The operator blinked. "We already checked the hydraulics." Riggs shook his head. "Not that line. The one behind the backup manifold. When the pressure spikes, it kicks a safety lockout. Happened to me in '87. Whole deck was frozen for half a day before I realized the actuator pin stuck halfway." The young sailor called it in. A moment later, an engineer confirmed what Riggs suspected. The pin was jammed. A small, nearly invisible fault. "How the hell did you see that?" One of the engineers muttered. Riggs smiled faintly. You don't see it. You feel it. The admiral watched silently as Riggs guided the team through the repair. His voice was calm but commanding, cutting through the wind and noise like a knife. Within minutes, the bypass was reset, the hydraulics repressurized, and the system indicator lights flickered green. Cat 1 ready for test launch, came the voice over comms. The deck crew scrambled back into position. A jet was hooked to the catapult, engines roaring. Launch test authorized, said the air boss. Riggs stood at the edge of the deck, eyes fixed on the fighter. He could feel the vibration beneath his boots, the heartbeat of the ship returning. Then, boom, the jet thundered off the deck, soaring into the bright blue sky. Cheers erupted across the deck. Sailors threw their arms in the air, laughing, shouting, clapping each other on the back. The admiral exhaled slowly, a rare smile crossing his face. Chief Riggs, he said, walking over. Looks like the Navy owes you one. Riggs chuckled softly. Just glad to see her breathing again, sir. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the Pacific horizon, the admiral found Riggs sitting alone near the stern, watching the waves shimmer in orange light. You know, the admiral said quietly, I almost didn't let you on deck. Riggs didn't look away from the water. Would have been the right call, sir. Regulations are regulations. Maybe, the admiral said. But sometimes, the regulations forget what experience knows. The two men sat in silence for a moment. You ever miss it? The admiral asked. Riggs smiled faintly. Every damn day. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn coin, an old challenge coin from his carrier days. I carried this through every deployment, he said. Every launch, every storm. Kept it for luck. The admiral took the coin, turned it over, and saw the engraving, faith in the crew. Beautiful words, the admiral said. They saved my life more than once, Riggs replied softly. When word spread across the ship about what had happened, the younger sailors were stunned. They'd seen an old man, someone their grandfather's age, walk onto their deck and fix what hundreds of millions of dollars of technology couldn't. One of the engineers approached Riggs the next morning. Sir, I just wanted to say, I didn't think you could do it. Riggs grinned. Neither did I, but that's the thing about old sailors. We don't forget the feel of the deck under our boots. The young man nodded, his respect clear. You made us all remember why we wear this uniform. Riggs stood, straightened his shoulders, and saluted. Then my work here's done. As the Independence steamed onward, the admiral made an announcement over the ship's PA system. Today, we honor Chief Petty Officer Samuel Riggs, U.S. Navy, retired. His knowledge, experience, and service reminded us that no technology can replace the wisdom of those who came before us. Let us never forget the veterans whose lessons keep us afloat. The entire crew stood at attention. The sound of boots echoed across the deck. And as the admiral saluted toward the horizon, every sailor followed. Riggs stood quietly at the back, a single tear tracing down his weathered cheek. He wasn't there for the glory. He wasn't there for medals or recognition. He was there because, deep down, he still belonged to the sea, to the deck, the roar, and the rhythm of the catapult that had once been his heartbeat. When the ceremony ended, he walked to the edge of the deck and looked out across the endless water. The sky was painted in gold, and the hum of the engines filled the air. He whispered softly, still flying, boys, still flying. Then he placed his old coin on the railing, a token of gratitude, a silent goodbye. The story of Chief Riggs spread across the fleet, retold in mess halls and training sessions. Young sailors began to study the old systems with renewed respect. They learned that sometimes, wisdom isn't found in manuals, it's found in memories. Years later, a plaque appeared on the carrier's hangar deck. It read, in honor of Chief Petty Officer Samuel Riggs, who taught us that true power lies not in the machine, but in the heart that understands it. Every sailor who walked past that plaque touched it for luck before each mission, just like Riggs had done with his coin. And somewhere beyond the horizon, perhaps in spirit, the old chief still watched over them, smiling as the catapult thundered and the jets soared skyward once more.